Chapter 1569. We're fine. Xiaochen said. Master is from the poison sect. They cut off all the vines and ran away. There's no rope here now. 15th Xing continued. Xiaochen frowned deeply at 15th Xing's words. He turned to Jingyu and said, even with 15th Xing's qinggong, it'll take more than a day to go up and down the mountain. It's impossible for us to wait here in this position. Jingyu looked up at the distance above and then down at the distance below. The faintly discernible forest in the white fog made Jingyu's expression change slightly. Were they going to give up halfway? No, definitely not. Jingyu's eyes were filled with unwillingness. She turned her head slightly and saw the protruding rock. She sighed deeply and said, "Let's move over." Xiaochen gestured to Xing Yi and then followed Jingyu bit by bit towards the protruding rock. The more they moved over, the more they saw what the protruding rock was. It looked like a flat platform. Jingyu's eyes were tinged with joy when she saw the flat platform. They moved faster and finally climbed up the rock with some effort. However, the rock was too small and could only accommodate one person. Xiaochen and Xing Yi had to continue hanging. What do we do now? Jingyu took a deep breath and pursed her lips tightly. She raised her hand to untie the child on her back and prepared to tie the child to the front. However, just as Jingyu carefully untied the child, she saw Little Potato's mouth turn even darker and his eyes rolled back. His fingers even showed signs of twitching. Jingyu's heart trembled violently. Little Potato, are you trying to scare Mother? As Jingyu spoke, she saw fresh blood flowing from Little Potato's nose. The moment she saw the blood, Jingyu's nerves collapsed. Little Potato! Don't scare Mother! Xiaochen, what do we do? Jingyu's eyes were filled with panic and hot tears fell from Jingyu's eyes. Xiaochen's eyes were also filled with panic. He wanted to do something, but just as Xiaochen moved, the rock beneath his feet suddenly loosened and Xiaochen's body slid down. Xiaochen! Jingyu's heart contracted violently. She bent down and saw that Xing Yi had grabbed Xiaochen's hand and was using great effort to hold onto the rock and stabilize his body. Xiaochen, are you all right? Jingyu asked in a panic. I'm fine. Xiaochen endured the pain from his wrist and calmly replied. Jingyu held Little Potato in her arms and helped him wipe away the blood flowing from his nose. However, after a short while, Little Potato's nose started bleeding again. Little Potato, don't leave Mother. I beg you. Jingyu's eyes were filled with tears and she sobbed uncontrollably in the middle of the cliff. Why is God treating me so unfairly? Jingyu's golden-green eyes were filled with unwillingness and resentment. Why do you have to take away the people I love again and again? Why is this so? Jingyu's heart was throbbing with pain. Her bone-piercing questions woke up the eagle deep in the mountains. A clear eagle cry sounded and Jingyu raised her head slightly. Chapter 1570. She looked at the eagle circling in the sky, then looked at the dying Little Potato in her arms. She turned her head to look at the faintly discernible forest under the white fog. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something and made up her mind. Child, Mother has let you down. Jingyu's eyes were filled with tears. She looked at the smiling Little Potato in her arms and saw how warm and determined he was. She suddenly raised her hand and cut off a corner of her clothes. She cut her finger and wrote a letter in blood on the corner of her clothes. I, Jingyu, will repay you with my life in the future by saving my son's life. She stuffed the letter written in blood into Little Potato's swaddling clothes. Jingyu raised her head to look at the eagle circling in the sky. Her golden-green eyes flashed slightly. She waved at the eagle and said, "Come here." Xiaochen and Xing Yi saw Jingyu's actions and their eyes were filled with shock. Under the gaze of Xiaochen and Xing Yi, the eagle stopped in front of Jingyu and flapped its wings fiercely. Jingyu wrapped Little Potato up properly and kissed his cheek deeply. She raised her head to look at the eagle and moved aside. She saw with her own eyes that the eagle soared into the sky and suddenly swooped down towards Little Potato. It reached out its sharp claws and grabbed the bundle that Little Potato was wrapped in. It let out a sharp cry and flew into the distance. In a few moments, it disappeared from Jingyu's sight. However, Jingyu looked in the direction that the eagle flew in and had no intention of looking back. Her golden-green eyes were filled with tears. "Yu." Xiaochen called out softly. "Let's go up." Jingyu took a deep breath and turned to look at Xiaochen. Xiaochen's expression changed when he heard Jingyu's words. He looked at Jingyu's determined expression and slowly nodded his head in agreement. He strenuously stabbed the dagger in his hand into a crack in the rock and climbed up with difficulty. "Master, I'll release some vines for you." Hearing 15th interrogation officer's call from above, Jingyu steadied herself and raised her head to listen to the commotion above. When she saw the vines that were flung down from the cliff, a faint look of surprise appeared in her eyes. Jingyu, Xiaochen, and Xing Yi climbed up the vines. The three of them were almost completely drained of their strength. After climbing to the top of the cliff, they were completely drained of energy and collapsed to the ground. Jingyu couldn't bear the thrill. She took a deep breath and turned to look down the cliff. "You." Xiaochen shifted his body and reached out to hug Jingyu tightly. His injured hand trembled slightly, but he hugged Jingyu with great strength. Jingyu buried her head in Xiaochen's embrace and sobbed silently. However, her scalding tears soaked Xiaochen's clothes and he could clearly feel the scalding tears burning his skin. Jingyu didn't say a word and just hugged Xiaochen tightly for a long time. Finally, she slowly let go of him, her red and swollen eyes filled with worry. There was a long silence at the top of the cliff. 15th interrogation officer, are those people from the poison sect? Jingyu turned to look and saw the people 15th interrogation officer had taken down. She frowned deeply and turned to ask 15th interrogation officer. Chapter 1571. It's the poison sect. Interrogation Officer 1 had already bandaged the wounds on Interrogation Officer 15's body. It was just a simple bandage, but looking at the wounds on Interrogation Officer 15's body, one could clearly tell that an intense battle had occurred on the cliff top. These people from the poison sect seem to have followed us all the way here. Their goal is to cut off the vines and kill Master and Madam. 15th Xing gritted his teeth and reached out to put on his clothes as he spoke. The poison sect. Jingyu's expression gradually darkened. She turned to look at the forest in the distance and said, "Xiaochen, we need to get in touch with Qinggu and Little Potato." Jingyu suddenly felt like something was stuck in her throat. "We must find Little Potato. I want to see him safe and sound." Jingyu stared fixedly at Xiaochen. "All right." Xiaochen nodded slowly at Jingyu's words. Jingyu pursed her lips and turned to Xing Yi and 15th Xing, "Let's go down the mountain. I want you to find out where the poison sect is. I want to settle this debt with them personally." Interrogation Officer 1 and Interrogation Officer 15 straightened their bodies abruptly and bowed in response. The poison sect was a malignant tumor in Jingyu's heart. She'd thought that after dealing with Nailin Yu and threatening Yun Jing, Yun Tian would learn to be smarter and wouldn't easily provoke her. She hadn't expected the poison sect to be so eager to seek their own deaths. It looked like the destruction of the Holy Family hadn't shocked these hidden clans enough. Why were they so eager to court death? Jingyu, Xiaochen, and the rest descended the cliff. Jingyu's mind was preoccupied the entire time while Xiaochen didn't relax his grip on Jingyu's hand. After descending the mountain, Jingyu, Xiaochen, and the rest settled down in a small town at the foot of the mountain. After personally watching Xing Yi release the carrier pigeon, the rest of the time was to wait for news. Ever since descending the cliff, Jingyu often sat in front of the window in a daze or walked step by step through the forest. She knew that this was useless, but Jingyu felt like this was the only way to comfort her heart. Miracle Physician Valley was sealed off. If Qingge hadn't taken the initiative to contact Xiaochen and Jingyu, Xiaochen and the rest wouldn't have been able to contact Qingge at all. While waiting for news, Jingyu didn't wait a single day for Qingge to appear. However, there was still no news from Qingge. Xiaochen couldn't bear to watch Jingyu's actions any longer and forcefully knocked her out. Only then did Jingyu sleep peacefully. She slept for an entire day and night. As if unwilling to wake up, Xiaochen stayed by Jingyu's bedside until Jingyu opened her eyes. "Xiaochen, our child is still alive." This was the first sentence that Jingyu said to Xiaochen when she opened her eyes. "I know. Our child must be alive. Xiao Chen's handsome face was filled with fatigue. His smooth chin was covered in stubble, but his dark eyes were still as clear as ever. His reply to Jing Yu's words was filled with determination. Jing Yu looked at Xiao Chen with bright eyes. Xiao Chen didn't ask anything, and Jing Yu didn't say anything either. The two of them seemed to have a tacit understanding. They didn't say anything, but at the same time, they seemed to have said everything. Chapter 1572. Qingge never showed up, but he did get another piece of news. What did you just say? In the inn, Jing Yu looked at Interrogation Officer 1 with a slightly ugly expression and said, Nailin Yu was rescued by someone? When did this happen? Jing Yu pursed her lips as she looked at Xing. Half a month ago. Xing Yi pursed his lips as he replied. I understand. When Jing Yu heard Xing Yi's words, she slowly furrowed her brows. Her silent face looked like she was thinking about something. After a while, she turned back to look at Xing Yi without any expression. How are things coming along with the things I asked you to do? Jing Yu narrowed her eyes. We're preparing according to Madam's instructions. Interrogation Officer 1 slowly lowered his head and said, Madam truly has a divine foresight. After releasing the news of Nailin Yu, there really were people who came to rescue her. Our people also stopped them for a bit. Ha. Hee hee. Jing Yu laughed coldly. This Nailin Yu does have some status in the poison sect. It looks like I was right. Jing Yu's eyes were filled with ice as she said, Now is the time to wait for news. I really want to see just where the poison sect is hiding. Jing Yu's words were filled with thick ice. Before, Jing Yu had already thought of investigating the poison sect's background. After thinking it over, she could only come up with one method, and that was to use Nailin Yu as a guide. This Nailin Yu really didn't disappoint Jing Yu. Jing Yu's lips curled into a faint smile as she thought about it. Finally, there was something she wanted to think about. I wasn't planning on making a move against the poison sect so soon, but I didn't expect Yun Tian to be so impatient to court death. Jing Yu leaned back and said, Keep following Nailin Yu and find out where the poison sect is. We've already received news. Interrogation Officer 1 frowned slightly and said, Nailin Yu is heading in the direction of Northern Shepherd. If this subordinate's guess is correct, the poison sect must be within Northern Shepherd's borders. Interrogation Officer 1 pursed his lips as he looked at Jing Yu. Northern Pastoral? Jing Yu frowned. Yuer, Qingge has yet to come out from the godly medical valley. It's not a good idea for us to wait here. Xiao Chen, who was sitting at the side, frowned slightly. There was a hint of worry in his eyes as he said, As for little potato. I understand. Jing Yu took a deep breath and rose to her feet. Dressed in black, she stood by the window and looked out at the distant mountain forest. We're going to the Northern Pastoral. This time, the poison sect dared to make a move against my, Jing Yu's, son. They must be prepared to pay the price. Jing Yu's eyes were filled with ice as she spoke. The glint in her golden-green eyes was frightening. All right. Xiao Chen stood up as well and stood next to Jing Yu. He looked out at the scenery and said, I'll leave some people here to keep watch and look for our son. If there's any news, they'll inform us. Xiao Chen's pitch-black eyes were filled with darkness as he looked at Jing Yu. Jing Yu turned to look at Xiao Chen and said, Do you blame me for leaving my son to Goshawk? What nonsense are you spouting? When Xiao Chen heard Jing Yu's words, his eyes filled with tenderness. He reached out to stroke Jing Yu's head and said, I was too careless. Otherwise, I wouldn't have given those evildoers the chance to take advantage of me. Chapter 1573. Xiao Chen's eyes were filled with self-blame as he spoke. Jing Yu sighed deeply and reached out to hug Jing Yu's waist. Have a good rest, okay? We'll set off for the Northern Pastoral tomorrow. Okay. Jing Yu slowly lowered her head, turned around, and hugged Xiao Chen before slowly closing her eyes. Xing Yi had already tactfully retreated. He stood outside the door and sighed deeply before turning around to leave. There was still a long way to go from Cebu to the Northern Pastoral. Fortunately, the main road was already connected. If they walked directly on the main road and turned to the waterway, they would reach the Northern Pastoral territory. Jingyu and Xiaochen traveled at their fastest speed along the way. Heli and Theo somehow found out about Jingyu and Xiaochen. He also didn't know when Feng Maching came to the northern pastoral. Jingyu and Xiaochen had just entered the northern pastoral environment when they were stopped by Feng Maching. "What are you doing?" It had only been a few months since she last saw Feng Maching, but she realized that the Feng Maching in front of her didn't look like the Feng Maching she knew at all. Jingyu looked at Feng Maching and silently swallowed her saliva. Her eyes were filled with surprise. The Feng Maching of the past was always dressed in flowery clothes and spoke and acted strangely. However, the Feng Maching now was incomparably normal. His hair, which was usually neatly combed, was casually draped down without a care. He was dressed in a blue robe. The robe was extremely large, and the belt was loosely tied. His face, which was often covered in rouge, now looked like a normal man. His sharp eyebrows and starry eyes made Jingyu's expression change slightly. She could not recognize that the person in front of her was Feng Maching. Jingyu and Xiaochen had just arrived at a small city in the northern pastoral when Feng Maching came knocking on their door. Jingyu looked at Feng Maching standing in front of her and frowned. She had no idea what was going on. "What's wrong? It's only been a few months and you don't recognize this young master anymore?" Feng Maching looked at Jingyu and Xiaochen indifferently and asked. "Feng Maching, what happened to you?" Jingyu silently swallowed her saliva and asked Feng Maching. Her eyes were filled with surprise as she looked at Feng Maching. Feng Maching smiled helplessly when he saw the large number of gazes that were fixed on him. Feng Maching ignored Jingyu's words and turned his gaze to Xiaochen. "I heard that you're here for the poison sect?" "Yes, you've already heard." Compared to Jingyu's surprise, Xiaochen was much calmer. He felt incomparably close to Feng Maching when he saw him like this. He turned his head slightly and asked Feng Maching, "Why are you here?" "Heli and Theo knows about the poison sect." Feng Maching frowned slightly and said, "I was just passing by and was about to go to the building. When I learned that you were here, I turned around and came over." When Feng Maching said this, Jingyu clearly felt that there was something different in his words. Jingyu looked at Feng Maching's lowered head and frowned as if she thought of something. Just as she was about to ask, Xiaochen reached out and pulled her back. Jingyu turned her head in confusion. "Thank you," Xiaochen responded expressionlessly. Feng Maching's expression didn't change as he responded indifferently and left. Chapter 1574. Jingyu watched as Feng Maching sat down on the other side of the corridor. He held a jug of wine in his hand and calmly drank from it. His pitch-black eyes seemed to contain countless stories, but they were so calm. "What's going on?" Jingyu's eyes were filled with curiosity as she watched Feng Maching's actions. She silently swallowed her saliva and turned to ask Xiaochen. Xiaochen was silent for a moment, then frowned and said, "Who knows? If you don't know, why are you stopping me?" Jingyu glared at Xiaochen and said, "I was just about to ask." "I think Feng Maching probably doesn't want to talk about it right now." Xiaochen frowned. After saying this indifferently, he turned his head again to look in Feng Maching's direction. Looking at Feng Maching's non-stop drinking, he frowned fiercely. "Miss, it looks like you were hurt by love." Jingyu's eyes widened slightly, and there was a hint of confusion in her eyes as she spoke. Xiaochen's mouth twitched when he heard that, but he didn't say anything. Feng Maching had indeed changed this time. No matter when, he always reeked of alcohol, but his mind was incomparably clear. Jingyu personally watched this man drink a few jugs of wine. After that, Jingyu told Xiaochen to ask Feng Maching about it. What she didn't expect was that Feng Maching could actually answer fluently. His words made Jingyu frown incomparably conflicted. Could it be that Feng Maching didn't have a sense of taste? Or was it the kind of physique that couldn't get drunk at all? Jingyu frowned in confusion as she watched Feng Maching talking to Xiaochen. From what Feng Maching said, "I have to ask Heli and Theo about the poison sect?" Jingyu leaned on the table and turned to ask Xiaochen. "Yes." Xiaochen slowly nodded and said, "Perhaps we can learn something from Heli and Theo that we don't know." "Okay, then let's not delay any longer. Let's go find Heli and Theo quickly." Jing Yu didn't say anything else and was about to drag Xiao Chen away. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen were about to leave the next day. Feng Maching was about to go outside the northern pastoral territory, while Jing Yu and Xiao Chen were about to go inside the northern pastoral territory. The two stood at the bottom of the inn and said goodbye. Feng Maching. When they were about to leave, Jing Yu suddenly called out to Feng Maching, who was about to leave. In my eyes, you've always been Feng Maching. Jing Yu smiled and said this to Feng Maching. Then, she jumped onto the horse's back. Feng Maching was stunned on the spot. The way he looked at Jing Yu changed slightly. He was silent for a moment, as if he wanted to say something, but he didn't want to say anything. His lips curved into a faint smile as he watched Jing Yu and Xiao Chen disappear into the distance. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen headed for the northern pastoral's imperial city. However, they had only walked for half a day when they received a message from Hellion Theo. This is the location Hellion Theo gave us. In the wilderness, Xiao Chen and Jing Yu were squatting on the ground. They looked down at the map spread out on the ground and frowned slightly. Xing Yi was holding the location Hellion Theo sent over. Hellion Theo is also here? Jing Yu raised her eyebrows and asked in surprise. Yes. Xiao Chen nodded slightly. There was a hint of surprise in his eyes. When did Hellion Theo become so nosy? Chapter 1575. Let's not go to the Imperial City. We'll head down from here and head straight for the poison sect. Xiao Chen pointed at the location on the map with furrowed brows. Jing Yu and the others nodded slowly, their eyes filled with determination. The poison sect really knows how to hide. They actually managed to find their way deep into the mountains and forests. If it wasn't for Nailin Yu leading the way, we really wouldn't have been able to find them. Jing Yu's lips hooked up in a cold, emotionless smile. Xing Yi, did Nailin Yu take this path? Do you know who saved her? Jing Yu turned to Xing Yi and asked. I'm certain she took this path, but I don't know who saved her. Xing Yi nodded slightly. Jing Yu frowned and said, the next town is Linjiang County. Hellion Theo said he'd meet us there. Let's hurry. Jing Yu stood up as she spoke. Xiao Chen also nodded in agreement. After Xing Yi tidied up the map on the ground, the group continued on their way. Linjiang County was a county near the west of the northern pastoral region. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen were the first to arrive. The county wasn't very lively, but it wasn't deserted either. It seemed that there were many outsiders here. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen's arrival didn't cause much of a stir in the county. The next day, Hellion Theo arrived as well. However, Hellion Theo didn't come alone. Big brother Xiao? Third brother Du, why are you all here? Jing Yu asked with wide eyes as she welcomed Hellion Theo in. When she saw the group of people following Hellion Theo in, she asked in surprise. We heard that something happened to the boss, so we all came. Xiao Wenshi looked at Jing Yu with a smile and said, those who came with us are all our brothers. Since the boss is in trouble, we naturally have to help. Really? When Jing Yu heard Xiao Wenshi's words, she frowned helplessly. She didn't expect it to be so big. Boss, young master? Mao Yi's temper was still as impatient as ever. He had only said a few words before he started asking questions. Little Potato is currently in Miracle Physician Valley. Jing Yu slowly sighed and said, the poison sect dared to make a move against Little Potato. This time, I'm here to find the poison sect. Jing Yu slowly turned to look at the crowd. I accidentally found out about the poison sect's presence in Northern Shepherds half a year ago. Hellion Theo frowned slightly, then he looked at Jing Yu and said, I wasn't sure at first, but this time, I'm almost certain. Jing Yu nodded slowly and said, Nailin Yu will personally lead the way. Once everyone is here, we'll set off immediately. Who else is there? Mao Yi asked curiously. Fourth brother Mao, you'll know when the time comes. Jing Yu only smiled faintly when she heard the question. There wasn't a hint of emotion in her eyes. Speaking of which, Hellion Theo, why did you come personally? When everyone started talking, Jing Yu turned to Hellion Theo and asked curiously. When Hellion Theo heard Jing Yu's question, his expression stiffened. Perhaps he's here to find someone. Xiao Chen picked up his teacup, took a sip and said calmly, Don't worry, it's not a big deal. Chapter 1576. Looking for someone? Who? Jing Yu was slightly taken aback as she looked at Xiao Chen. When she saw Xiao Chen's expressionless face, Jing Yu's gaze landed on Heli and Theo. Her eyes were filled with questions. I was just bored in the palace, so I came out for a walk. Heli and Theo spoke indifferently. His eyes lowered slightly, hiding the expression in his eyes. He turned his head away as if he didn't want to say anything. Jing Yu looked at Heli and Theo's expression and felt even more conflicted. What the hell are these two people doing? Why does Jing Yu feel a deep sense of strangeness? It's only been a few months since we last met. Why does Jing Yu feel so conflicted? Xiao Chen, do you really not feel that something is wrong? Jing Yu turned to Xiao Chen and asked. When she saw Xiao Chen's calm expression, she seemed to have thought of something. She stared at Xiao Chen and asked, Do you know something? It's time to rest. Xiao Chen reached out and grabbed Jing Yu's hand. His lips curled into a faint smile as he said, Xiao Bai is rushing over with his men. They'll be here in a few days. Tomorrow, have Xing Yi scout ahead and find the exact location of the poison sect. All right. As soon as Xiao Chen finished speaking, Jing Yu's thoughts really ran away. She frowned slightly and said, No one noticed Xiao Bai's arrival, right? What's going on with the poison sect now? The poison sect doesn't know anything about this, Xiao Chen replied indifferently. So what if they know? Does the poison sect have any leeway to resist? When Jing Yu heard Xiao Chen's words, her heart filled with iciness. Anger was brewing in the depths of her heart and she tightly pursed her eyes. Every time she thought of the poison sect, she thought of all the things Ling Xian had done. She also thought of the helplessness she'd felt on that cliff. She'd personally sent her child off. Now, Little Potato's fate was unknown and his whereabouts were unknown. When she thought of this, Jing Yu felt a sharp pain in her heart. She tightly pursed her lips and didn't say a word. Xiao Chen, is there any news from Divine Physician Valley? Jing Yu turned to look at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen slowly shook his head, a trace of worry flashing in his eyes. Jing Yu looked at Xiao Chen, who was shaking his head as usual, and slowly relaxed her body. To Jing Yu, perhaps no news was the best news right now. Jing Yu slowly lowered her head and stared blankly at the table in front of her. Her golden-green eyes were unreadable. Countless days and nights passed. Jing Yu's longing for her child deepened bit by bit. From time to time, she would stare blankly at Xiao Chen, Little Potato, and Little Potato's clothes. When Xiao Chen saw this scene, he felt powerless. Xing Yi. When it was deep into the night, Jing Yu had already fallen asleep. However, Xiao Chen appeared outside the door. Xing Yi was standing beside Xiao Chen. He was wearing a pitch-black robe as he stood beside Xiao Chen. He tightly pursed his lips as he looked at Xiao Chen. When he heard Xiao Chen's voice, he respectfully acknowledged. Xiao Chen was wearing an inner robe as he stood in the corridor, indifferently looking at the pitch-black night in the distance. You still haven't found him? Xiao Chen's expression was very ugly. His pitch-black eyes were filled with coldness, and his words were somewhat gloomy. In reply to Master, there's still no news of little young Master. Xing Yi's face also paled as he lowered his head and replied. Chapter 1577. When Xiao Chen heard Xing Yi's report, his expression darkened even more. He furrowed his brows tightly and pursed his thin lips icily. Have you searched all the places I told you to? What did Xing Yi's message say? Xiao Chen fell silent for a moment, then tilted his head to stare at Xing Yi. His pitch-black eyes were incomparably cold under the moonlight. Lord Qinggu said that no one in Miracle Physician Valley has seen the young master, nor has anyone cured the young master. Xing Yi's Adam's apple bobbed as he spoke. Damn it. Xiao Chen's expression hardened. He furrowed his brows and said, Continue searching. No matter what method you use, no matter how much effort you use, you must find the young master. This king wants to see him alive or dead. Xiao Chen's words were filled with determination. When Xing Yi heard Xiao Chen's words, his body trembled violently and he lowered his head. Then what about the madam? Xing Yi furrowed his brows and asked tentatively. Don't say anything for now. Xiao Chen sighed deeply and said, "This king doesn't want anything bad to happen at this juncture." Xing Yi acknowledged respectfully. After Xiao Chen said a few more words, he turned and went back into the room. Jing Yu was sleeping soundly on the bed in the room. She was completely oblivious to the conversation between Xiao Chen and Xing Yi. Early the next morning, Xing Yi led people into the forest to investigate the exact location of the poison sect. Jing Yu, Xiao Wenshi, and the others gathered to talk for a long time before they dispersed. Xiao Chen took Xing Shiwu outside to check on the situation outside. Jing Yu was suddenly free. She was seriously considering whether or not she should go outside for a walk. Just as she opened the door, she saw Hellion Theo sitting in the backyard, sullenly drinking wine. After such a long time, Hellion Theo's beautiful face didn't lose any points. Jing Yu stood on the balcony and looked around before walking down to Hellion Theo's side. "Is something the matter?" Hellion Theo looked up at Jing Yu and asked. "I should be the one asking you that." Jing Yu sat down across from Hellion Theo and looked at Hellion Theo's beautiful face. She smiled faintly and said, "From the moment we met, you looked like you had a lot on your mind. What do you want to do?" Hellion Theo fell silent when he heard Jing Yu's words. However, he didn't say anything. "What? You don't want to talk about it?" Jing Yu raised her brows at Hellion Theo and said, "We ran into Feng Maching before we met up with you." "When?" When Jing Yu's words fell, the expression in Hellion Xiu's eyes immediately changed. Even the tone of his question changed. When Jing Yu saw Hellion Xiu's expression, the corners of her mouth twitched violently. She guessed right. There really was something wrong with these two. "Why are you in such a hurry?" Jing Yu looked at Hellion Theo in amusement and said, "Don't tell me, you came out this time to look for Feng Maching? How is that possible?" Hellion Theo's expression changed instantly. He turned his head and said with hatred, "I'm just happy that he's finally gone." Hellion Theo's expression stiffened. Chapter 1578. Jing Yu looked at Hellion Theo's face curiously. After hearing his words, she suddenly laughed out loud and said, "I was just joking. Why are you so nervous?" Hellion Xiu looked at the faint smile in Jing Yu's eyes and suddenly had a feeling that he had been fooled. He furrowed his brows tightly and decided not to say anything. "What?" Jing Yu looked at Hellion Theo's expression and said, "Did I hit the nail on the head?" "Jing Yu?" Hellion Theo was annoyed by Jing Yu's words. He was afraid that he would say something he shouldn't, so he lowered his head and looked at Jing Yu. His dark eyes were filled with exhaustion. Okay, I got it." Jing Yu stretched lazily and said, "I know you're annoyed by Feng Maching, but the strange thing is, when I saw Feng Maching this time, why did he seem to have changed? Did you see? Feng Maching actually wore his clothes properly and didn't speak in a weird tone." "You didn't see?" "I was shocked when I saw Feng Maching." Jing Yu said curiously. "Oh." Hellion Theo didn't seem to care, but in a place where Jing Yu couldn't see, his hands on his legs unconsciously clenched a little. "Speaking of which, it's strange. Do you think Feng Maching suffered some kind of shock?" Jing Yu said curiously. Then, as if she thought of something, she turned to Hellion Theo and said, "Oh right, I heard that Feng Maching followed you to the Northern Pastoral Palace? What happened to you guys after that? Tell me quickly, I'm curious." Jing Yu looked at Hellion Theo excitedly and said, "Feng Maching kept pestering Xiao Chen, and now he's pestering you. Do you have anything to say?" Hellion Theo's expression changed slightly, then he turned to look at Jing Yu and asked, "Last time, the situation where Feng Maching and I got to know each other, you were the one who planned it, right?" Hellion Theo wasn't a fool. How could he not know such simple logic? He frowned slightly and looked at Jing Yu. "This?" When Jing Yu heard Hellion Xiu's words, the expression on her face suddenly became very interesting. She had accidentally sold herself out. "I think I'm a little hungry." "Are you hungry? I'm going to find something to eat." Jing Yu said this quietly and didn't care about Hellion Theo's reaction. She stood up decisively and slipped away. Hellion Theo looked at Jing Yu's figure running away and shook his head helplessly. He looked at the wine glass on the table and lowered his head slightly. He reached out to pick it up and drank it in one gulp. The spicy wine slid down Hellion Theo's throat and made Hellion Theo feel a faint bitterness on his tongue. He didn't know if it was a chain reaction, but the bitterness in the air was so obvious that it made the bitterness in his heart even more difficult to ignore. When Xiao Chen returned, Hellion Theo was no longer sitting in his original seat. Jing Yu had also returned to her room. In order to stop her imagination from running wild, Jing Yu asked Xiao Chen to find a lot of storybooks for her to read to pass the time. Xiao Chen was really puzzled by Jing Yu's hobby. Jing Yu didn't read any books and only read storybooks. If she was young, it would be fine, but Jing Yu was already a mother. Why did she still like storybooks so much? Chapter 1579. Xiao Chen turned his head slightly and saw Jing Yu propping her chin up as she watched intently. Her lips were curled up as if she'd seen something funny. Xiao Chen couldn't help but laugh when he saw Jing Yu's expression. Over the next few days, Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and Xiao Wenshi took turns searching for the poison sect's hiding place. But after searching the forest several times, they still couldn't find any traces of the poison sect. This situation made Jing Yu anxious. There was no news from Miracle Physician Valley either. Fortunately, just as Jing Yu was about to lose her patience, Xiao Bai and Jing Lang finally arrived with their men. Their arrival was so grand that it was the perfect time for Xiao Bai and Jing Lang to arrive. Xing Yi had finally found traces of the poison sect. In the depths of the forest, Xing Yi found a death trap filled with poisons. The poison sect was hidden behind this death trap, inside this cave. When the news reached them, Xiao Bai and Jing Lang had just arrived at the county town to meet up with Jing Yu. Mother, father. It hadn't been long since they last met, but Jing Yu's heart trembled violently when she saw Xiao Bai. She reached out and pulled Xiao Bai into her arms. As she hugged Xiao Bai, she thought of Little Potato, whose whereabouts were still unknown. Her eyes filled with tears. Jing Lang's eyes were filled with faint heartache as he hurried over to Jing Yu. From the looks of the two, it was obvious that they knew about Little Potato. The way Jing Lang looked at Jing Yu made Jing Yu's eyes turn misty. Big brother. Jing Yu pursed her lips and called out. It's fine now. Big brother's here. Jing Lang hugged Jing Yu as he spoke deeply. What's the current situation? After everyone returned to their rooms, they finally got down to business. According to Xing Yi's report, we've found the poison sect's location, but there's a very serious problem. Xiao Chen slowly furrowed his brows and said, Xiao Bai, news of your arrival was leaked. Perhaps the poison sect already knew about our movements. Xiao Chen slowly said, the current situation is that the poison sect has completely hidden themselves. We've found the residence they're living in, but we don't dare to go in. The only thing we can be sure of is that there's absolutely no one inside. Then where are the poison sect members hiding? Jing Yu's brows furrowed as she asked. These people from the poison sect are all hiding in the cave. If I'm not wrong, there must be a completely different world inside the cave. Xiao Chen frowned slightly as he spoke with a calm look in his eyes. What should we do now? Jing Lang turned to look at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen. The poison sect is very cunning. They hid in a cave as soon as they learned of our arrival. Although there's no one in the rooms, we still don't dare to casually barge in. What if there's some kind of trap or poison in there? What should we do then? Hellion Theo also spoke calmly. That's exactly what I'm worried about. Xiao Chen's expression also changed as he spoke. Why is the poison sect hiding in a cave? Jing Yu's brows furrowed tightly as she spoke. Chapter 1580. The cave is a cut-off mountain. The poison sect's people have already moved in, but it's still a turtle shell that's hard to open. When Xiao Chen heard Jing Yu's words, he sneered without a care in the world. We haven't found the entrance to the cave yet. The way I see it, we won't be able to get in even if we find it. The poison sect is most adept at silently poisoning people. If we want to deal with the poison sect, we'll have to think of another way. He Lian furrowed his brows tightly as he spoke. Poison. Jing Yu frowned impatiently when she heard this. Poisoning was a silent thing, and it made Jing Yu grit her teeth in hatred. Is there a way to do it? Jing Yu's brows furrowed slightly as she said, Could it be that we'll have to invite the people from Divine Physician Valley to deal with the poison sect? Otherwise, no one will be able to make a single move? Jing Yu's eyes were filled with anger as she spoke. When the group heard Jing Yu's words, they all furrowed their brows and didn't say a word. Let's wait for a moment. The school bus seemed a little annoyed as he furrowed his brows. I'll go take a look myself tomorrow. Jing Yu took a deep breath, then turned to leave. These complicated matters really made Jing Yu uncomfortable. That's why she was so impatient. She took a deep breath as if she didn't want to say anything else. She stood by the corridor in a daze. Xiao Chen, Jing Lang, and Helian Theo talked for a while in the room before they all dispersed. Xiao Chen saw Jing Yu standing in the corridor and furrowed his brows. He walked over to Jing Yu and stood by her side. His brows curved slightly as he looked at Jing Yu and said, "Everything will be resolved. Don't worry too much." Jing Yu didn't say anything after hearing Xiao Chen's words. She just lowered her head and didn't say a word. "Mother!" Xiao Chen was a little worried when he saw Jing Yu's appearance. Now that he heard Xiao Bai's call, he let out a sigh of relief. He saw that Jing Yu had finally turned around and was talking to Xiao Bai intimately. When Xiao Chen saw this scene, he let out a sigh of relief. Seeing that Jing Yu was accompanied by Xiao Bai, he turned around and left. "Mother, are you unhappy?" Xiao Bai looked at Jing Yu with a pair of bright black eyes and asked. "I didn't." Jing Yu shook her head at Xiao Bai and said, "Did you have a good day?" Jing Yu looked at Xiao Bai with a smile and asked. Xiao Bai was very obedient and told Jing Yu everything he encountered, whether it was interesting or not. Jing Yu also patiently listened to Xiao Bai's words. She didn't show the slightest bit of impatience, and from time to time, she would interject a few words, as if it was a very happy thing to hear Xiao Bai talk to her so happily. "Mother, little brother will be fine," Xiao Bai said as he reached out and pulled Jing Yu's sleeve. Xiao Bai was so smart, how could he not know why Jing Yu was unhappy? He was obediently staying by her side to please Jing Yu and make Jing Yu happy. Xiao Bai has grown up and is sensible. Jing Yu seemed to be very gratified. She reached out and patted Xiao Bai's head, her eyes full of joy. Chapter 1581. The matter of the poison sect had to be resolved quickly. Early the next morning, Jing Yu changed into a set of clothes that made it easier for her to walk. She grabbed a dagger and some other items and followed Xing Yi and Xiao Chen out of the house. "You guys stay here for now." Jing Yu turned to Xiao Bai and Jing Lang. "We're just going to scout the area. You guys wait here for news. If there's any concrete news, someone will come and inform you." After Jing Yu finished speaking to Jing Lang, Helian Xiao, and the others, she turned and left. This forest was really big, but it was just an ordinary forest. Compared to the Roman forest, this forest really wasn't big enough. Still, it was more than enough to hide the poison sect in the depths of this ancient forest. Jing Yu walked through the forest and looked at the terrain and trees. She sighed in her heart. The poison sect was really good at disguising themselves. If it wasn't for Nailin Yu leading the way, Jing Yu would never have been able to find this place. Jing Yu followed in Xing Yi's footsteps. After walking for several hours, they finally arrived at the legendary wasteland. From a distance, they could see the withered trees. It was obvious that this land had been soaked in poison all year round. "Master, madam, the poison sect's residence is up ahead. There's a large mountain behind this area and the poison sect's members are inside," Xing Yi slowly said as he pointed at the barren houses in front of them. "It looks like the poison sect's members really did plan this a long time ago." Jing Yu frowned deeply as her golden-green eyes flashed with an icy light. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen's group were currently standing in the middle of this forest. However, the area in front of them made Jing Yu afraid to take even half a step forward. How could they dare to go forward when they saw the state of the vegetation? It's obvious that the poison sect's members had received the news long ago. "That's why they retreated ahead of time," Jing Yu said with a frown. "Yeah, that's what I guessed as well." Xiao Chen furrowed his brows and said, "However, we've come here in such a secretive manner. Who would have the ability to notify the poison sect so quickly? And this Nailin Yu, what do you mean?" When Jing Yu heard Xiao Chen's words, she furrowed her brows and said, Could this be a trap set up by the poison sect and they're just waiting for us to walk right into their trap? It's not impossible. Xiao Chen's pitch-black eyes slowly furrowed as he said, since you could make Nailin Yu pretend to be rescued, why can't the poison sect beat you at your own game? Using Nailin Yu as bait to lure us here and then catch us all in one fell swoop? When Jingyu heard Xiao Chen's words, she slowly furrowed her brows as well. Now that she thought about it, it wasn't impossible. If that was really the case, wouldn't Jingyu have fallen into someone else's trap if she rashly attacked? What do you think we should do? Jingyu turned to look at Xiao Chen. Perhaps we should scout the path first. Xiao Chen stood with his hands behind his back. He narrowed his eyes as he looked at the bleak houses in the forest. It wasn't hard to see that this place must have been very prosperous before. If it wasn't for that, it wouldn't have been dressed like this. Jingyu didn't know what Xiao Chen wanted to do, but she vaguely understood Xiao Chen's intentions. The day's scouting came to an end. Jingyu and Xiao Chen walked as they looked around. By the time they returned to the inn, the sun was already setting in the west. Chapter 1582. How did the search go? Heli Theo, Jing Lang, and the others all asked when they heard the news of Jingyu's return. The situation might not be as simple as we thought. Jingyu calmly looked at the crowd and said, the poison sect's people retreated in a timely manner. It's obvious that they knew we were coming. Perhaps there's something else going on here. Perhaps someone secretly delivered a letter. After Jingyu finished speaking, Xiao Chen calmly continued. Everyone's faces instantly turned strange. Could it be that someone had delivered a letter to them? Jingyu's gaze slid past Jing Lang and Xiao Bai's faces, then to Xiao Wenshi and the others before landing on Heli Theo's face. Although she hadn't said anything yet, Heli Theo could feel everyone's eyes on him. What should I say? Heli Theo's heart trembled slightly. Then he smiled carelessly and shrugged at Jingyu. His clear eyes seemed to have lost all emotion. I don't like being toyed with. Jingyu's eyes hardened as if she didn't want to say anything else. Xiao Bai, take some people with you tomorrow to discuss the route. Xiao Chen tilted his head slightly to look at Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai nodded obediently. Jingyu didn't say anything else and turned to leave. Xiao Chen also followed Jingyu. Everyone also bid their farewells and dispersed. Heli and Xiao stood in the same place, the strength in his hands slightly tightening. Those flickering eyes seemed to hide some inside information that could not be revealed to outsiders. Heli and Xiao stood silently for a while, then turned around and left. For the past 2 days, Xiao Chen had sent people to scout the route, but the results didn't seem to be satisfactory. Xiao Chen and Xing Yi also joined them. Jingyu originally wanted to go as well, but because she didn't sleep well last night, she woke up early in the morning to find that Xiao Chen and Xing Yi had already left. Jingyu naturally couldn't be bothered to go alone. Jingyu had nothing to do, so she leaned against the window and stared blankly at the sky outside. She seemed to be thinking about something uneasy, but also seemed to be staring blankly at the sky. Just as Jingyu was feeling bored, she suddenly heard the sound of wings flapping. Jingyu curiously turned to see a carrier pigeon perched by the corridor. Jingyu frowned, then opened the door and walked out. Just as she opened the door, she saw 15th Interrogation Officer rush out and grab the carrier pigeon. Just as he was about to remove the item from the carrier pigeon, Jingyu suddenly spoke up and stopped 15th Interrogation Officer. Madam. 15th Interrogation Officer's eyes narrowed when he saw Jingyu, his eyes filled with panic. Jingyu looked at 15th Interrogation Officer's reaction and frowned strangely. Why are you carrying this carrier pigeon? Hurry up and give it to me. Jingyu looked at 15th Interrogation Officer and said, Madam, this carrier pigeon is master's. 15th Interrogation Officer said quietly with a sullen face. After saying this, he wished he could slap himself. Jingyu instantly laughed when she heard this. She looked at 15th Interrogation Officer and said in amusement, What do you mean it's Xiao Chen's? Isn't what's Xiao Chen's mine? Or, is Xiao Chen hiding something from me? Chapter 1583. Jingyu's golden green eyes slowly turned to look at 15th Xing. When she saw 15th Xing's expression change after hearing her words, her heart trembled violently. Xiao Chen was really hiding something from her. 15th Xing. Jing Yu's expression instantly turned ugly. She suddenly scolded angrily, "Bring the thing over." But madam," 15th Xing screamed in his heart. At this time, Master and Xing Yi weren't here. They were all in the forest. What should he do now? "You've got guts. How dare you go against my words?" Anger appeared on Jing Yu's face. Her eyes were cold as she stared fixedly at the pigeon in 15th Xing's arms, as if she had thought of something. At this time, what else could Xiao Chen be hiding from her? Jing Yu's heart turned cold inch by inch. 15th Xing. Bring the thing over. Although Jing Yu's voice was loud, it was obvious that her voice was trembling. "Madam." 15th Xing was in a difficult position. He was thinking of running away. Master had strongly instructed him not to let Madam know. Who knew that this pigeon would fly here? He was just half a beat slower to catch the pigeon, but now things had turned out this way. What should he do? Jing Yu saw that 15th Xing didn't listen to her at all. She was anxious and angry. She didn't say anything else and directly grabbed at 15th Xing. 15th Xing was shocked and quickly retreated. This was his wife. How could a small secret guard like him dare to touch Jing Yu? He could only dodge left and right. Jing Yu didn't care what was going on with 15th Xing. She grabbed at him mercilessly. 15th Xing wanted to resist, but he was afraid of offending Jing Yu. In the end, he seemed to have made up his mind about something and reached out to release the pigeon. Seeing the carrier pigeon fly away, Jing Yu's expression became slightly anxious. Under 15th Xing's fearful gaze, Jing Yu actually stepped on the railing and grabbed the carrier pigeon from behind without a second thought. "Madam!" 15th Xing's face was full of shock. Jing Yu didn't know Qinggong. She just jumped out and caught the pigeon, then her body fell from the sky. Helian Theo happened to step into the courtyard and saw this frightening scene. Without any hesitation, he suddenly raised his chi and spun up, catching the falling Jing Yu and landing safely on the ground. 15th Xing was so frightened by this scene that he broke out in a cold sweat. He didn't expect Jing Yu to be so unyielding. She jumped out without saying anything and he couldn't stop her. If anything happened to Jing Yu, even if 15th Xing had 15 heads, it wouldn't be enough for him to chop off. "Madam, are you okay?" 15th Xing's eyes were full of shock as he looked at Jing Yu and asked. "I'm fine." Jing Yu was also scared. Even though this floor wasn't high, it was still very painful to fall. "Jing Yu, do you want to die?" The moment Helian Xiu let go of Jing Yu, he let loose a torrent of abuse. His good-looking face was unbelievably gloomy. Anyone who saw the scene just now would be scared out of their wits. "Ahem." Jing Yu smiled awkwardly at Helian Theo. After thanking him with a grin, she couldn't wait to remove the letter tied to the pigeon's leg. Helian Theo finally understood why Jing Yu suddenly jumped off the building. Chapter 1584. So it was just to catch a carrier pigeon. Helian Theo became even angrier at this thought. He frowned slightly as he watched Jing Yu unfold the note. What could make Jing Yu so desperate? Beside him, Xing Shiwu's heart tightened when he saw Jing Yu's actions. His body stiffened slightly as he prepared to deal with any sudden situation. Jing Yu's face darkened bit by bit after she read the contents of the note. She stiffened her body as she read the note. Helian Theo frowned slightly. He didn't know what Jing Yu had read. "What's wrong?" Helian Theo asked with a slight frown. Jing Yu didn't say anything. She stood there without moving. Then, under Helian Theo's puzzled gaze, she slowly put away the note in her hand. Her golden-green eyes looked calmly at Xing Shiwu. Xing Shiwu noticed Jing Yu's gaze and his heart skipped a beat. Looking at Jing Yu's calm expression, he instantly knew that something big was about to happen. "When did you find out about this news?" Jing Yu's expression was incomparably calm. Her voice and tone were also very normal. There didn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary. But for some reason, seeing Jing Yu like this, Xing Shiwu's heart almost jumped out of his chest. It was a few days ago, before Xiao Bai Gongzi arrived. Xing Shiwu knew that he couldn't hide this any longer. He swallowed silently and said. After Jingyu heard 15th Xing's words, she purposely kept silent for a moment. The note in her hand was twisted out of shape by Jingyu's grip. 15th Xing looked at this scene with fear and trepidation. Helian Xiu, who was listening at the side, was completely confused and had no idea what was going on. What's going on? Helian Theo asked curiously. But what answered Helian Theo was a deathly silence. No one spoke. Helian Theo looked at Jingyu standing there with her head slightly lowered. It seemed like he couldn't see Jingyu's expression clearly, but he seemed to be able to feel the deep murderous intent emanating from Jingyu's body. Helian Theo's expression changed instantly. He looked at Jingyu in fear, suddenly feeling that the air around them had become thin and uncomfortable. In this deathly silence, Jingyu suddenly raised her head. Jingyu's golden-green eyes were brewing an unstoppable storm. Those eyes were so terrifying. Madam! Madam! Before 15th Xing could recover from the murderous aura in Jingyu's eyes, he saw Jingyu striding out of the room. He immediately called out, "What are you doing?" Jingyu. Helian Theo's eyes flashed with shock when he saw Jingyu's murderous look. He quickly chased after her and saw Jingyu get on the back of a horse without a word. The woman in black sitting on the horse's back was so shocking. "Come with me. Today, I'm going to destroy the poison sect. And bury them with my son." Jingyu practically squeezed these words out through gritted teeth. Then, ignoring Helian Theo and Xing Shiwu's expressions, she abruptly pulled the reins of her horse and galloped away. Helian Theo and Xing Shiwu both stood in their spots in shock as they watched Jingyu's figure grow further and further away. When they recalled the savagery in Jingyu's golden-green eyes, they both shuddered. Chapter 1585. Something big is about to happen. After 15th Xing said this sentence in a panic, he rushed to a nearby horse and climbed onto it, chasing after Jingyu. Helian Theo finally reacted and shook his body violently. After listening to Jingyu's words, Helian Theo roughly knew why Jingyu went berserk. He also vaguely guessed what Jingyu saw on the note. Jingyu and Xiao Chen's child must have met with an accident. Didn't they say that the child was being treated in Miracle Physician Valley? Could it be that he's dead? Helian Theo shook his body violently at this thought. If the child was really dead, then what would happen next would be another shock. Regardless of whether it was Jingyu or Xiao Chen, if something happened to either of them, the other would be the only one who would go berserk. However, if something happened to their child, then it would be a collective rampage. Helian Theo pondered for a moment. It was probably impossible to stop Jingyu now. He could only wait and see what Jingyu wanted to do. No matter what, he could not implicate innocent people. Helian Theo was silent for a moment, then he turned around and returned to the inn. He called everyone out and led a large group of people into the forest. The originally peaceful town was completely chaotic. When Jingyu and Xiao Chen arrived, they attracted a lot of attention. However, Jingyu and Xiao Chen did not do anything else after they arrived. The people in the town were just a little cautious and did not think much of it. They only kept a close eye on Jingyu and Xiao Chen's movements. However, they soon realized that Jingyu and Xiao Chen's group were only running into the forest. Many people warned them that the forest was not clean, but Jingyu and Xiao Chen did not care at all. Since he didn't listen to his kind advice, he naturally wouldn't go and ask for a rebuff. There were also some people in this town. They were probably afraid that something big would happen, so they brought their families and moved away after a few days. They probably wanted to wait for the storm to blow over before coming back. But today, Jingyu and Xiao Chen, who had originally calmed down, finally made a move, and it was such a big move. When the peddlers on the street saw Helian Xiu's team, they all retreated back to their houses to avoid them. When they saw with their own eyes that Helian Theo led so many people and rushed into the forest like a swarm of bees, that aggressive and murderous look, everyone widened their eyes in shock. What's going on? When the children who were playing outside saw this scene, they also widened their eyes in curiosity and asked. The parents of the children did not think twice and locked their children in the house, closing all the doors and windows. They watched in horror as the group disappeared into the distance, but still did not dare to open the door. In such a chaotic world, the slightest carelessness would be inviting trouble to oneself. Jingyu rushed into the forest like the wind, with Jingyu in hot pursuit. However, it was impossible for him to catch up to her. In the blink of an eye, Jingyu's figure disappeared outside the forest. At this moment, Xiao Chen, Jing Lang and the rest were clearing the weeds on the side, as if they were looking for a way to proceed with the next step. As they were talking, they heard the sound of horse hooves outside the forest and immediately frowned. Chapter 1586. Why would someone come to this place at this time of the day? Xiao Chen and Jing Lang both stood up and looked into the distance. They immediately saw Jingyu rushing over on her horse. Her beautiful face was filled with boundless murderous intent, and her golden-green eyes were filled with terrifying emotions. When Xiao Chen saw Jingyu's expression from afar, his heart suddenly trembled violently. It was as if he had thought of something terrifying. His pupils suddenly shrank, and he didn't hesitate to step forward and block Jingyu's path. Xiao Chen's pitch-black eyes were filled with a dark color as he glared at Jingyu and called out, "You child!" Jingyu was blocked by Xiao Chen and had no choice but to stop. She coldly looked at Xiao Chen and said, "Get out of the way." "You don't be rash. Let me finish speaking first." Xiao Chen originally had some doubts in his heart, but after hearing Jingyu's words, he instantly understood that something that could make Jingyu so furious must be Jingyu knew about Little Potato. Xiao Chen's heart trembled violently. He was afraid that Jingyu would do something stupid. "Xiao Chen, get out of the way." Jingyu looked at Xiao Chen with a fierce gaze and coldly shouted. Xiao Chen's face was cold. He stepped forward and pulled Jingyu off her horse without saying anything. Jingyu stood on the ground and fiercely shook off Xiao Chen's hand. "Let go of me." Jingyu's golden-green eyes were filled with coldness as she looked at Xiao Chen and said, "If I didn't discover it today, how long were you planning to hide it from me?" "Xiao Chen, what right do you have to hide it from me?" Listen to me." Xiao Chen grabbed Jingyu's shoulder tightly and said, "I did this for a reason. You were emotionally unstable a while ago. I just wanted to wait until everything was clear before telling you." Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's explanation didn't make Jingyu feel any better. Instead, she became even more irritable. She glared at Xiao Chen with her golden-green eyes and said, "How long are you going to lie to me? Little Potato isn't even in Miracle Physician Valley. Little Potato was gone. Why didn't you tell me earlier?" Jingyu sounded like she was about to cry. She stared at Xiao Chen with a questioning gaze. "Calm down." Xiao Chen tried to calm Jingyu down. "I can't calm down." Jingyu looked at Xiao Chen with red eyes and said, "Little Potato's whereabouts are unknown. We don't even know if he's dead or alive. How do you expect me to calm down? This is all because of the poison sect. I want the poison sect to be buried with Little Potato." Jingyu swatted away Xiao Chen's hand and walked forward with a murderous look on her face. Xiao Chen quickly reached out to stop Jingyu. "You can't go over there. That area is still in the poison zone," Xiao Chen said coldly. As Jingyu and Xiao Chen were talking, there was a commotion from the other side. Xing Shiwu had caught up. When he saw that Xiao Chen had stopped Jingyu, he finally sighed in relief. Then, he knelt down in front of Xiao Chen with a look of death on his face. This subordinate failed in his duty to protect Madam. "Master, please punish me." Xing Shiwu pursed his lips. Xiao Chen glanced at Xing Shiwu but didn't say anything. "Get out of the way." Jingyu looked coldly at Xing Shiwu and pushed Xiao Chen aside with a wave of her hand. She coldly walked forward and snatched a bough from someone's hand. Xiao Chen saw Jingyu's actions and was stunned. He didn't know what Jingyu was doing. Chapter 1587. They watched as Jingyu casually lit a torch, lit the arrow, and shot it towards the poison sect's house. "Since we can't walk through, then we'll burn it all." Jingyu's golden-green eyes were filled with madness. The arrow that flew out instantly set the house ablaze. In this dry weather, a casual gust of wind was enough to start a forest fire. Xiao Chen, Jing Lang, and the others were all stunned by Jing Yu's actions. Their eyes widened. Xing Yi. Xiao Chen took a deep breath and exclaimed with a cold expression. Yes, master. Interrogation Officer 1 quickly recovered from his shock. He swallowed slightly, turned to look at Xiao Chen and bowed as he spoke. Have everyone guard this perimeter of the forest. If there's a fire, put it out immediately. Xiao Chen's eyes were fixed on Xing Yi as he said, I don't want to see the fire burn people. You guys, continue to increase the fire. Xiao Chen took a deep breath and slowly ordered. The others bowed in acknowledgement. When Helian Theo arrived with his men, he happened to hear Xiao Chen's words. Xiao Chen turned to Helian Theo and exchanged a glance. Helian Theo didn't say a word as he turned and scattered towards the outskirts of the forest. Everyone was seriously guarding the fire. There was only one thought in their minds. They couldn't let the fire burn the mountain. When Xiao Chen saw that the fire was burning, he asked some guards to wear wet face towels and cut down all the trees that were likely to be burned. He looked at the scene with a solemn face. He watched as the fire burned little by little into the dark night and dyed the night sky red. The people in the town noticed the abnormality in the depths of the mountain and widened their eyes. In the originally quiet forest, a fiery red flame suddenly rose up. It was especially conspicuous in the dark night. When the people in the town saw the fire, they all panicked. What would they do if they accidentally set the forest on fire in this kind of weather? If the forest was burning, it would definitely burn towards the town. Thinking of this, everyone's eyes widened. Their eyes were filled with astonishment. The fire had been burning for the entire night. The people in the town didn't sleep at all because of the fire. Jing Yu stood in place and watched the fire burn before her eyes. She watched as the fire slowly devoured the houses of the poison sect. Compared to the grandeur of the Holy Family, the poison sect was really just a small sect. Under the onslaught of the fire, all the houses were swallowed up in an instant. Everyone was patrolling the forest, keeping an eye out for any movements in front of them. If anything happened, they would be the first to take action. Fortunately, Xiao Chen and Helian Theo's group reacted in time and didn't encounter any problems. Jing Yu stood at the edge of the fire for the entire night. She opened her golden-green eyes and admired the signs of the house being destroyed. She watched the fire burn for the entire night. When the sky began to brighten, everyone was already extremely tired after concentrating for the entire night. But Jing Yu didn't seem to be affected at all. Go find some dry wood. Jing Yu turned around, not caring who was behind her. She said indifferently, the more dry wood, the better. Chapter 1588. Yes. Xing Yi was about to ask why, but when he turned and saw Xiao Chen's expression, he slowly lowered his head and complied. Then he saw Jing Yu casually pull off a corner of her robe to cover her face. Step by step, she walked towards the still-burning ruins of the poison sect. When Xiao Chen saw Jing Yu's order, he guessed what Jing Yu wanted to do. After a moment of silence, he also pulled out a black cloth from his robe and covered his face. Then he calmly walked forward. He followed behind Jing Yu without the slightest hint of anxiety. He watched as Jing Yu passed through the area and walked to the side of the boulder, as if searching for traces of the stone wall. Xiao Chen pursed his lips when he saw Jing Yu's movements, then followed along in her search. The door's switch wasn't hard to find, so Jing Yu wasn't in a hurry to open it. Instead, she turned to look at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen understood and stood a good distance away. Jing Yu also prepared to run away at any moment before reaching out to open the door. As Jing Yu predicted, the moment the door opened, dozens of arrows flew out. The arrows were stained with poison, and when the stone door opened, Jing Yu could even see the powder on the stone door. She didn't need to look to know that it was poison. Looking at the path inside the stone door, even an ant had died. Who knew how many poisons had been sprinkled along the way? Jing Yu's eyes were filled with ice. This really was the poison sect style. After personally witnessing the poison arrow being shot out, Jing Yu and the others still didn't dare to casually step forward. When the sky brightened up and they saw that the wood that Interrogation Officer 1 had asked his men to find had been found, Jingyu calmly raised her brows and ordered someone to start a fire in the cave. Since the poison sect likes to hide in their tortoise shells so much, I'll burn them out. I'd like to see if these people can endure it. Jingyu's lips curled in a mocking smile as she said, burn them, but don't block the entrance. Xing Yi finally understood what Jingyu wanted to do. His eyes filled with excitement. Have people stand guard around the back of the mountain. Xiao Chen spoke up from the side. This rat is crafty, don't let it escape at the other entrance. Yes. This subordinate understands. Xing Yi replied loudly, then led a group of people to search for wood. The forest was bustling with activity, so it had to be said that the fire required patience. Jingyu's lips slowly curled up. She wasn't in a hurry as she watched the mountain burn. After a day passed, Jingyu found a cool and comfortable place to rest. Jingyu and Xiao Chen hadn't spoken for a long time. Jingyu looked at the small table in front of her, as well as the teapot and refreshments. She arched a brow and looked curiously at Xiao Chen. You've worked hard these past few days. Xiao Chen's expression didn't change as he spoke. He very attentively poured Jingyu a cup of tea, then placed the refreshments in Jingyu's hands under everyone's resentful gazes. When the guards saw this, they were thoroughly resentful. They'd worked themselves to death watching this block of wood, but Xiao Chen hadn't said a word. Instead, he was telling Jingyu, who was sitting leisurely on the side, that it had been hard. Was he trying to say that it had been hard on his eyes? Chapter 1589. The group of guards trembled violently and hung their heads helplessly without saying a word. Comparisons were odious. They had better work seriously. If the ninth emperor saw them, he might reward them with a cup of tea. Jingyu looked at Xiao Chen's actions and raised her eyebrows slightly. She did not do anything else. Xiao Chen's intentions were clear. Didn't he just want to apologize to her? Did he think he could appease her with a cup of tea and some snacks? You're dreaming too much. Jingyu turned her head away. She did not drink the tea or eat the snacks. Instead, she continued to stare at the huge flame in front of her in a daze. Xiao Chen saw Jingyu's actions and his face stiffened. He looked at Jingyu helplessly. He knew that Jingyu was really angry this time. Furthermore, he was in the wrong this time. He should not have hidden it from Jingyu. But what should he do now? Xiao Chen frowned in confusion. How should he make Jingyu happy again? Xiao Chen sighed deeply. He was so worried that his hair turned white. In the following period of time, the group of guards saw their mighty and domineering ninth emperors chasing after Jingyu in a fawning manner. He served her tea and water, causing the group of guards to be shocked. Was this really the ninth emperors that they knew? Jingyu was annoyed by Xiao Chen. How could she not be annoyed when he followed her to the toilet? Xiao Chen, what are you trying to do? Jingyu finally flipped out. When Xiao Chen heard Jingyu's words, his eyes revealed a faint smile of surprise. You're finally willing to talk to me. Xiao Chen looked at Jingyu with an extremely wronged expression. His eyes were filled with joy. When Jingyu heard Xiao Chen's words, her expression froze. She glared fiercely at Xiao Chen and did not say anything. I was wrong about little potato. I shouldn't have hidden it from you. Xiao Chen took a deep breath and apologized sincerely. He looked at Jingyu sincerely and said, I was just worried that you wouldn't be able to accept it. I'm sorry. Don't be angry, okay? Xiao Chen said softly to Jingyu. Xiao Chen, little potato is my child. Why didn't you tell me about it? When Jingyu heard Xiao Chen's words, her heart heaved violently. She glared at Xiao Chen and said, If I didn't discover it myself, how long were you planning to hide it from me? Until you found little potato's body? When Jingyu said this, her throat suddenly choked up. Her eyes were filled with tears. She stared at Xiao Chen and said, If that's really the case, Xiao Chen, I will hate you to death. Xiao Chen could clearly see the coldness in Jingyu's eyes. Her gaze was so unfamiliar that it made Xiao Chen's heart tremble violently. He quickly reached out and grabbed Jingyu's hand. Jingyu coldly shook off Xiao Chen's hand and sat down on a chair. Her face was cold and she didn't say anything. I know I was wrong. I promise there won't be a next time. Xiao Chen quickly squatted beside Jingyu and looked at Jingyu with incomparable flattery. His humble manner made Jingyu's heart soften. However, she stiffened her neck and didn't say anything. If she didn't teach Xiao Chen a lesson this time, who knew what Xiao Chen would do in the future? Chapter 1590. Jingyu turned her head away and didn't say a word. She glanced askance at Xiao Chen's panicked expression, but he didn't know what to do. Her heart softened even more. Jingyu knew that Xiao Chen was doing this for Jingyu's sake. If she had told Jingyu about this back then, Jingyu didn't know what kind of stupid thing she would have done. The fire burned for 3 days and 3 nights. Finally, on the 4th day, there was movement in the cave. Jingyu had left the door open after all. Jingyu sat indifferently in her chair when she heard coughing coming from the cave. Then she saw people rushing out of the cave. One by one they ran out. Deep in the mountains, they were dressed in thin robes. It was obvious that they'd taken off their clothes because it was too hot inside. Jingyu's eyes held a cold smile. She didn't say a word as she sat in her seat and watched one person after another run out. In just a few minutes, almost everyone who had been hiding in the mountains had come out. As soon as these people came out and saw the situation outside, their eyes widened slightly. Looking at the situation in front of them, their eyes flashed with a bit of fear. Jingyu also saw an acquaintance in this group of people. Jingyu slowly rose to her feet and crossed her arms as she calmly looked at the poison sect members. Who else could it be but Yun Tian standing at the very front? The high-spirited and high-spirited Yun Tian from before was now covered in dust. Probably because he had not drunk water for a long time, his lips were a little chapped and his eyes were filled with a greenish-black color. Young Master Yun, long time no see. Jingyu leisurely walked over and looked at Yun Tian as she spoke indifferently. I thought young Master Yun would hide in this rat hole for a long time. What? You couldn't help but come out? Jingyu's golden-green eyes were filled with mockery. Yun Tian's expression abruptly changed when he heard her words. He fiercely clenched his teeth as he looked at Jingyu and said, My poison sect is so secretive. How did you find this place? Ah. Jingyu laughed and said happily, You'll have to ask your third Miss Naylan. If it wasn't for Miss Naylan leading the way, how could we have found this place? Said Jingyu with a smile in her eyes. When she said those words, astonishment appeared on Yun Tian's face. Immediately after, he turned his head and looked to the side. In the middle of the crowd, Na Lanyue was no longer wearing her bright red clothes. Instead, she was wearing a pitch-black robe that seemed to want nothing more than to cover her entire face. When Jingyu saw Naylan Yu's appearance, her eyes filled with curiosity. In Jingyu's memories, Naylan Yu was someone who wanted nothing more than to wear as little as possible. She wanted nothing more than to show off her face so that everyone would notice her. But now, Naylan Yu wanted nothing more than to hide her entire body. When Jingyu suddenly spoke, her body trembled violently and she unconsciously took a few steps back. But since Yun Tian had spoken, the people around Naylan Yu instinctively backed away. This time, Naylan Yu was completely exposed. Chapter 1591. Naylan Yu, we meet again. Jingyu smiled as she looked at Naylan Yu. She then saw Naylan Yu's body fiercely tremble. Under the gaze of Jingyu and the others, Naylan Yu slowly raised her head. The moment she raised her beautiful face, Jingyu was frightened. Her originally delicate face was now covered with unknown spots. Her eyes were sunken and her lips were incomparably dry. Her hair was extremely messy and her eyes were protruding out of her head. How could the current Naylan Yu have the elegance of a beauty from before? Jingyu, all of this was part of your plan. When Naylan Yu opened her mouth to speak, her voice became even more ear-piercing. Her originally clear and beautiful voice was now extremely hoarse. It was obvious that her throat had been damaged. When Xiao Chen and the others saw Naylan Yu's appearance, their eyes revealed a trace of astonishment. Then, they turned their gazes towards Jingyu. They originally thought that this was done by Jingyu, but when they saw that Jingyu's eyes were also filled with astonishment, they immediately denied their own thoughts. If this wasn't done by Jingyu, then what was going on with Nailanyu? Oh. When Jingyu heard Nailanyu's words, her eyes slightly narrowed as she said, "It seems that the man I found for you is not bad. He served our Miss Nailan to the point that even her voice became hoarse?" Jingyu. The moment Jingyu's words fell, Nailanyu's eyes were filled with tyranny. She seemed to be embarrassed and angry as she madly rushed towards Jingyu. Jingyu didn't let anyone stop her. She looked at Nailanyu's limping feet and smiled disdainfully. The moment Nailanyu rushed forward, Jingyu's foot kicked out without hesitation. Nailanyu was kicked to the ground by Jingyu's foot. Cough, cough. Nailanyu clutched her chest and lightly coughed a few times. She turned to look at Jingyu with an icy gaze. Her body trembled slightly and fiercely as she said, "You planned all of this. You purposely revealed a flaw and let people save me. Your goal was to find the poison sect." When Nailanyu said this, her body was already violently trembling. Her lips couldn't help but tremble. In an instant, she seemed to understand many things, and her large eyes bulged as she stared at Jingyu and said, "You never wanted to let go. You used me. You used me to personally destroy the poison sect." Hee hee. Jingyu laughed disdainfully as she said, "It looks like you're not completely brainless after all. But now that you know everything, what can you do?" Jingyu smiled as if she didn't care at all. She spread her hands towards Nailanyu. The corners of her mouth had a smile on it, and her eyes were bright and dazzling. Nailanyu was looking at her as if she was looking at an incomparably filthy thing. Why did things turn out like this? She should be the one shining in all directions. She should be the lofty one. Why did so many changes happen in the blink of an eye? Right now, she was like a lowly servant lying on the ground. Nailanyu's heart was filled with unwillingness as she glared at Jingyu. Her chest heaved little by little. Chapter 1592. "But I'm very curious." Jingyu crossed her arms as she looked at Nailanyu and said, "Yuntian couldn't be that stupid, right? He actually sacrificed the lives of the entire poison sect for a pawn like you just to save you? I really want to know who saved you." As Jingyu spoke, she turned her gaze to Yuntian. Then, she said indifferently, "During the march, who was the one who gave the order to poison us?" "Yuntian, are you really that stupid?" Jingyu said indifferently, "I told Yunjing to cut off his own arm to give your poison sect a way out. But you people didn't care at all and attacked again and again, forcing me to force your poison sect into a dead end. Now, can you tell me all about it?" Jingyu calmly narrowed her eyes as she looked at the people in front of her. Then she said calmly, "Perhaps I'll be happy to hear it and kill fewer people." "Jingyu, listen to me." When Yuntian heard Jingyu's words, he quickly stepped forward and said agitatedly, "I definitely didn't do it." "HM? And then?" Jingyu calmly narrowed her eyes and calmly looked at Yuntian, indicating for him to continue. "When Yunjing came back, he told me everything. After that, we stopped meddling in this matter," Yuntian said anxiously. Yuntian anxiously said, "I wasn't the one who poisoned the army and saved Nailanyue. Then who had such great ability?" Jingyu calmly curled her lips as she said, "Aren't you the eldest young master of the poison sect? How could there be someone with more power than you? How could you mobilize the poison sect's people so casually?" Yuntian paused and seemed a little uneasy as he said, "It was Ling Xian who did it." Ling Xian. When Jingyu heard this name, her expression instantly became incomparably fascinating. She seemed to have thought of something as she looked around and asked, "Where's Yunjing?" "Yunjing left after he came back to report what happened. I don't know where he went." Yuntian pursed his lips and said, "My poison sect really doesn't want to make an enemy out of you." "Is that so?" Jingyu narrowed her eyes and looked at Yuntian with a deep gaze. She slowly said, "Since you didn't do it, then what are you afraid of? Why are you hiding?" "HM?" Jingyu's soft voice rang out as she looked at Yuntian with a faint amusement. She calmly said, "Young Master Yun, you knew about this from the start? And you didn't stop it?" When Jingyu finished speaking, Yuntian's face suddenly turned deathly pale. When Jingyu saw Yun Tian's expression, she knew that she must have guessed correctly. Her lips curled into a faint smile as she leisurely walked towards Yun Tian. Jingyu, this matter really has nothing to do with me. If you want to find someone for revenge, go find Ling Xian. Yun Tian looked at Jingyu's approaching footsteps and felt a little frightened. He carefully took a small step back. Ling Xian is already dead. Jingyu calmly said. What? Impossible. When Yun Tian heard Jingyu's words, his eyes filled with shock. Without thinking, he said, how could Ling Xian die so easily? Yun Jing hasn't been found yet, so Ling Xian can't possibly die. Chapter 1593. She died right in front of me. Jingyu's eyes were calm as she looked at Yun Tian. Ling Xian took poison and killed herself. No, that's not right. When Yun Tian heard Jingyu's words, he exclaimed in shock. Ling Xian was the daughter of the previous sect master. She was born with a constitution that made her immune to poison. How could she have taken poison and killed herself? What did you say? Jingyu trembled violently at Yun Tian's words. Her face was filled with rage as she recalled the scene in the forest. At the time, Jingyu and Xiaochen had been so focused on Little Potato that they hadn't paid attention to whether Ling Xian was dead or alive. Now that Yun Tian said this, the two of them immediately felt something was wrong. Jingyu turned her head slightly to look at Xiaochen. The two of them looked at each other with a serious look in their eyes. Then, as if they had thought of something, they frowned fiercely. Ling Xian? Jingyu clenched her fists and turned to speak to Xiaochen. She wanted Xiaochen to investigate what was going on. When Yun Tian saw that his words were effective, he silently wiped away the cold sweat on his forehead and sighed deeply. Just as Yun Tian was thinking about it, he was already halfway to success. As long as he could protect the poison sect, that would be good. But just as he was thinking this, he turned his head and saw Nailan, who had been sitting on the ground, take out a dagger that glowed with a green light. It was obvious that the dagger had been dipped in poison. Otherwise, why would it have such a color? Watch out! Yun Tian didn't even think as he shouted. At a time like this, he couldn't let anything happen to Jingyu. Otherwise, Xiaochen would definitely kill everyone in the poison sect. Yun Tian never thought that Nailan would be so bold. She didn't give up at a time like this and even rushed towards Jingyu. Jingyu was talking to Xiaochen. Clearly, she hadn't expected Jingyu to be so reckless. Seeing the figure rushing over, Jingyu's expression changed. Shock filled her eyes as she watched Nailan approach. But the moment Nailan got close to Jingyu, Xiaochen reached out and pulled Jingyu behind him. At the same time, the long sword in his hand pierced through Nailan's body. Jingyu's pupils shrank. She saw with her own eyes that Nailan had also thrust out a long sword from behind her. Nailan's eyes were fixed on Jingyu behind Xiaochen. Her eyes were filled with unwillingness. The dagger in her hand fell to the ground and she knelt down. She lowered her head and looked at the two long swords in her hands. Her pitch-black eyes were filled with despair as she stared at Xiaochen. She stared at Xiaochen's face and felt her blood flow away. In this daze, she seemed to see the days she had spent with Xiaochen. Back then, Xiaochen still had a warm smile on his face. No matter what she said, Xiaochen would treat her gently. Those days really made Nailan sink into them. She even almost forgot her goal. Nailan thought that if things could really go on like this, how good would that be? But she couldn't forget her goal. Every time the poison flared up, she would suffer a fate worse than death. Chapter 1594. Originally, she thought that this kind of pain was the most painful, but now, Nailan felt that there was no other kind of pain. It was the pain of having someone you deeply love kill you with their own hands. Tears began to appear in Nailan's eyes. If she was given a chance to choose again, she would probably still choose to protect herself, but no matter how much she loved someone else, it would never be as deep as her love for herself. Nailan opened her mouth slightly, as if she wanted to call out Xiaochen's name, but she couldn't say another word. At this moment, the person standing behind Nailan walked over with steady steps and stood in front of her. Hee. When Nalan Yu saw who the person standing in front of her was, her pupils shrank and her body began to violently tremble. At this moment, it was as if she had used all the strength in her body to tightly grab onto the clothes of the person in front of her. "Master!" The shadow slowly squatted down in front of Nalan Yu. That hideous scarred face was extremely familiar to Nalan Yu. When she heard the words master, Nalan Yu's heart almost collapsed in that instant. Nalan Yu would never have thought that the person who had stabbed her with a sword would be the shadow. Back then, the lowly man who had always followed by her side, the man who had always been by her side, the man who had used all his strength to protect her. But now why? Why had he become the person who had taken her life with his own hands? Nalan Yu's body began to violently tremble, and a feeling of regret slowly rose in her heart. Under this kind of grief and indignation, it was magnified bit by bit, slowly eroding Nalan Yu's body and mind. Zi Ming. Nalan Yu seemed to have used up all the strength in her body as she slowly spat out a name. The moment this name was spat out, the shadow's face immediately changed. A pair of deep and serene eyes quietly stared at Nalan Yu. He saw the intense regret in Nalan Yu's eyes, and the regret brewing in those eyes was so great. In the end, she still regretted it. The corners of the shadow's mouth curled up into a mocking smile. He looked at Nalan Yu without the slightest ripple in his eyes. This beautiful woman who had once illuminated his life, when had she become like this? The shadow's memory was a little fuzzy. She was the one who had rescued him from the devil's den, and she was also the one who had abandoned him. He still remembered how he had tried his best to attract her attention back then, no matter how dangerous the mission was. No matter how disgusting the task was, no matter how much he hated it, he could still complete it perfectly. With a heart full of joy, he came in front of her, only wanting to see her smile at him. Even if she wanted him to die for that smile, he would be willing to do so. This person. Back then, he was the one who risked his life to protect his master. But now, he was the one who had to kill him with his own hands. He had done it. He had killed her, and he had seen the remorse in her eyes. Just as he had died, he had heard her call out that name. He couldn't remember how long it had been since he had heard Nalan Yu call out that name. So she still remembered. The shadow slowly stretched out his hand and covered Nalan Yu's face. He gently wiped away the tears on Nalan Yu's face. His actions were very gentle. How many times had he buried his love in his heart? How many times had he been hurt? Chapter 1595. Nalan Yu. Jing Yu finally came back to her senses from the sudden change in situation. Seeing Nalan Yu's aura slowly weakening, the corners of Jing Yu's mouth curled up as she walked towards Nalan Yu and called out. Nalan Yu didn't have the energy to look at Jing Yu. Do you know how pitiful you are now? Jing Yu calmly looked at Nalan Yu and said, the person you love doesn't love you back, and the person who loves you was thrown away by you like trash. Now, you're dying in their hands. Do you regret it? You're probably the most pitiful person I've ever met. Jing Yu's voice sounded above Nalan Yu's head. Nalan Yu's hands slowly stiffened and her body trembled. The blood flowing from the wound was so large. You've never lived a good life for yourself. You've always lived for others. You shouldn't have cherished people. How pitiful. Jing Yu sneered. She slowly squatted down in front of Nalan Yu and said, Nalan Yu, if there's a next life, I hope that you'll never appear in front of me again. After Jing Yu finished speaking, she slowly raised her hand and unceremoniously pushed Xiao Chen's sword in half an inch. Then, she suddenly pulled it out and coldly stood up. Nalan Yu's eyes widened as she stared at Jing Yu. You owe me this. After Jing Yu coldly said this, she coldly threw the sword in her hand to the ground. She was so cold and emotionless. Nalan Yu could clearly feel her life slipping away. She mechanically raised her head to look at the shadow. At the moment of her death, when she heard Jing Yu's words, Nalan Yu's heart was filled with hatred towards Jing Yu. Instead, it was filled with regret. Nalan Yu looked at the shadow. Her lips slightly moved as if she wanted to say something, but she couldn't say anything. Nalan Yu's heart was filled with anxiety, but more than that, she was powerless. Nalan Yu really wanted to say sorry to the shadow, but it was too late. Nalan Yu's eyelids slowly sank, and the light in her eyes slowly faded away. Under the calm gaze of the shadow, Nalan Yu's lips slowly curled up at the last moment, as if she wanted to smile at the shadow. However, she wasn't able to laugh in the end as her body slowly fell to the side. The person that Jing Yu hated to the bone had finally died at this moment. His death was filled with such regret and sorrow. Jing Yu watched as the shadow reached out and pulled out his sword. She watched as the shadow wiped the blood from the corner of Jing Yu's mouth and slowly stood up. She lowered her eyes and then looked up at the shadow. "In the end, you still followed me," Jing Yu said quietly as she looked at the shadow. "Yes." The shadow stiffly replied and then said, "I want to take Nalan Yu to be buried. Are you willing?" Hee. Jing Yu suddenly laughed when she heard this. She looked at the shadow and said, "Seeing you mercilessly kill your original owner, I was thinking, were you going to cut Nalan Yu's body into 10,000 pieces?" The shadow was silent for a moment and didn't say anything. "Take her away." Jing Yu faintly pursed her lips and said, "Originally, I wanted her to die without a complete corpse, but since you helped me, I will give you this chance. Take Nalan Yu's body and leave. Never come back." Chapter 1596. Many thanks. The shadow fell silent for a moment, then solemnly bowed deeply to Jing Yu. Under everyone's gaze, the shadow reached out and picked up Nalan Yu's body. Step by step, it walked into the forest and disappeared from everyone's sight. Nalan Yu was dead. Jing Yu's heart seemed to have calmed down at this moment, but she also seemed to have a comfortable feeling. Nalan Yu really was dead. "That's great." Jing Yu smiled faintly and turned to look at Yun Tian. Yun Tian had seen everything with his own eyes. When he received Jing Yu's gaze, his eyes widened slightly. For some reason, alarm bells began to ring in his heart. "Go, lock up all the poison sect members," Jing Yu said indifferently as she waved a hand at the people behind her. "Jing Yu?" Yun Tian's expression changed slightly as he hurriedly took a step forward. His eyes were filled with anxiety. When Jing Yu saw Yun Tian's appearance, she opened her mouth and was about to speak when she suddenly saw a small figure charge out. "You bad person! Bad person!" The small figure with adorable cheeks cursed fiercely at Jing Yu. Jing Yu froze when she saw the little girl. "Come back." Yun Tian hadn't expected the little girl to suddenly rush out either. Panic and anxiety flashed through his eyes, and he reached out to grab the little girl without a second thought. "Bring her here." Jing Yu saw Yun Tian's expression and a faint light flashed in her eyes. "Yes," Xingyi answered and stepped forward. "No, don't." Behind Yun Tian, a woman also rushed out. Her face was filled with panic. "Mother!" The woman called Yun was grabbed by Xingyi and lifted into the air. Her legs kicked wildly as she cried out, her eyes filled with panic. "Jing Yu, I'm begging you, don't hurt her." Yun Tian was completely shocked. When Jing Yu saw this, she seemed to think of something and her lips curled in amusement. It looked like this little girl was Yun Tian's daughter. Jing Yu raised her eyebrows nonchalantly. She looked at Miss Xiao, who had her hand grabbed by Interrogation Officer 1 and was about to bite Interrogation Officer 1. She really had a good temper. So fierce. Jing Yu's lips curled in amusement. She looked at the little girl and said, "What did you just say I was?" "Bad person. Let me go. If you dare to bully us, I'll definitely get my revenge when I grow up." The little girl looked at Jing Yu with a ferocious expression. The threatening words came out of her mouth smoothly. Yun Tian and the girl heard Yun Er's words and almost fainted. "Now that you mention it, it reminds me." Jing Yu lightly curled her lips and said, "If you want to cut the weeds, you have to dig up the roots. Since you said that, should I kill you now? Otherwise, when you grow up, you'll cause trouble for me." "I'm begging you. Don't hurt my child. If you want to kill, then kill me." When the woman heard Jing Yu's words, her knees went soft and she immediately knelt down. She looked at Jing Yu with incomparable humility and begged with all her might. "Jing Yu, Come at me if you want to do anything. Back then, I was the one who chased you and forced you into a dead end. It has nothing to do with this mother and daughter. You can do whatever you want to me. Yun Tian hurriedly stepped forward and swallowed his saliva as he spoke. Chapter 1597. What deep love between husband and wife. Jing Yu calmly curled the corners of her lips. She looked at the little girl in front of her, then at her mother, who was kneeling on the ground with an anxious look on her face. She waved her hand at Xing Yi and said, "Lock him up." Jing Yu. Yun Tian took a small step forward. Yun Tian, if you want your wife and daughter to be safe and sound, then give me Ling Xian in exchange. Jing Yu expressionlessly interrupted Yun Tian. My patience is limited and I don't have time to play any games with you. Ling Xian killed my son. I want her to pay with her life. As Jing Yu spoke, her golden green eyes flashed with a sinister murderous intent. She quietly stared at Yun Tian and said, I know that you must have a way to capture Ling Xian, great young Master Yun. My request is very simple. As long as you can bring Ling Xian here, I will return your wife and daughter to you unharmed. Jing Yu calmly looked at Yun Tian and said, if you dare to play any tricks with me, then you can wait to collect your wife's corpse. And your clansmen. Jing Yu's gaze landed on those people. She narrowed her eyes and said, I'll allow you to bring some people to capture them. I trust that you know who to bring. As for the rest of them, lock them up. If you don't come back, or if you do something, just wait until you come back and collect the corpses of these people. I believe that when you see the corpses of your entire clan, your expressions will be very interesting. Jing Yu smiled indifferently. Her words were cruel. Do you mean it? Yun Tian glanced at his wife and daughter who had been restrained. His Adam's apple bobbed as he stared at Jing Yu with a burning gaze. Do you think that I'm a member of the poison sect? Jing Yu smiled disdainfully and said, if I really wanted to kill someone, would I be wasting my breath with you? You have two choices. Either you capture Ling Xian in exchange for your wife and child, or I'll kill everyone in the poison sect right now. Yun Tian's expression stiffened as he looked at Jing Yu with a conflicted expression. Were these really two different paths? It was clearly a path. All right. Yun Tian took a deep breath and said, I will definitely bring Ling Xian back to you, but my wife and child cannot be harmed in the slightest. Yun Tian, do you think you still have the qualifications to negotiate with me? Jing Yu turned around and said in disdain, I'll give you 10 days. I'll wait for you here. I hope you don't be late. Otherwise, you might see something bad. Yun Tianxin's heart trembled as if she had made up her mind about something. She took a deep breath and said, it's a deal. Yun Tian really took 5 or 6 people and left. Jing Yu also calmly locked these people up and confiscated everything on them. She took good care of their food and drink. She didn't beat them or scold them. She also didn't give them anything to eat. Everyone's originally tense hearts slowly relaxed. Seeing how well Jing Yu and her subordinates got along with each other, they couldn't help but feel relieved. Jing Yu was resting under a tree when Xiaochen walked over and called out softly. Jing Yu groggily responded, then slowly opened her bright eyes and looked at Xiaochen. Xiaochen sat down next to Jing Yu. They'd been outside for so long. Xiaochen originally wanted to build a shed, but Jing Yu found it too troublesome and had someone bring a carriage over instead. Chapter 1598. However, Jing Yu was too lazy to enter the carriage. Seeing that the weather was good, she laid down under the tree to sleep. You must be exhausted from the past few days. Xiaochen went up to massage Jing Yu's shoulders. However, Jing Yu brushed his hand away and muttered, I'm sleeping. Don't be so noisy. After saying that, she turned around and went back to sleep. Xiaochen looked at Jing Yu with a faint smile in his eyes. He lay down beside Jing Yu and reached out to hug Jing Yu. He sighed deeply. Talk to me. Xiaochen pursed his lips and said, I don't want to talk. Jing Yu's body stiffened slightly as she replied indifferently. Don't give up hope. Xiaochen raised his arm and looked at Jing Yu. I sent people to search the forest for a long time, but they couldn't find Little Potato's body. It's very likely that Little Potato is still alive. Even if he wasn't saved by the people from Miracle Physician Valley, maybe he was saved by someone else. Xiaochen gently put his hand on Jingyu's shoulder and said, "Even if there's a trace of hope, we can't give up." After Xiaochen said that, Jingyu's body trembled slightly and slowly curled up. When Xiaochen saw Jingyu's change, he felt a slight pain in his mouth. Jingyu was blaming herself. Jingyu couldn't forgive herself. "You err." Xiaochen tightly hugged Jingyu and said, "Don't be afraid. I'm still here." Jingyu's body stiffened slightly. She turned to look at Xiaochen and saw the deep worry and pity in Xiaochen's pitch-black eyes. Jingyu's heart trembled violently and she reached out to hug Xiaochen. "Xiaochen, I'm sorry." Jingyu's voice was slightly hoarse. "I'm sorry. I couldn't protect Little Potato." Jingyu tightly hugged Xiaochen and said, "I should be the one saying that." Xiaochen hugged Jingyu and said, "This is my fault. I couldn't protect you." Jingyu took a deep breath and her eyes were serious. She raised her head from Xiaochen's embrace and smiled brightly at Xiaochen. "Now isn't the time to talk about this. I don't believe that Little Potato will leave me like this. No matter what method I use, I have to find Little Potato." Jingyu pursed her lips and stared at Xiaochen with her golden green eyes. "Okay." When Xiaochen saw that Jingyu had finally thought things through, he was very happy. He bent down slightly and touched Jingyu's forehead. He hugged Jingyu and lay down peacefully under the tree. The soldiers surrounded Jingyu and Xiaochen. No one disturbed Jingyu and Xiaochen. Just as Jingyu and Xiaochen were lying there peacefully and talking with their eyes closed, a cry of surprise came from the other side. Jingyu frowned slightly. When the two stood up, they saw Xing-Yi rushing over. "What happened?" Xiaochen frowned and asked. "Yuntian's daughter suddenly fainted." Xing-Yi took a deep breath and said, "Fainted?" Jingyu and Xiaochen both furrowed their brows and pondered for a moment. They looked at each other and continued to walk forward. When they reached the place where the woman was being held, they heard the woman's cries. Chapter 1599. Her anxious expression caused Jingyu to frown slightly. "Go and find a doctor." Jingyu turned around and said to Xing-Yi before walking towards the mother and daughter. When the woman saw Jingyu approaching, her heart trembled violently. She cautiously protected the little girl in her arms. "What are you afraid of?" Jingyu slightly frowned and said, "I won't kill you. Before Yun Tian returns, I won't do anything to you. On the contrary, I can't let anything happen to your daughter." If Yun Tian returns and sees that his daughter has died of illness, he might think that I was the one who did it. If he hands her over to me, what do you think we should do? Jingyu indifferently raised her eyebrows and said. When the woman heard Jingyu's words, she was a little doubtful and slightly frowned. "Let me see." Jingyu slowly reached out towards the little girl. When she saw the woman's guarded gaze, she slightly curled her lips and said, "Or, do you want your daughter to die in your arms?" When Jingyu's words fell, the woman's body slightly stiffened. She looked at the child in her arms and that pale little face. Right now, she was completely powerless. Other than begging Jingyu, there seemed to be no other way. "I beg you, don't hurt her." The woman's eyes were filled with pleading as she slowly released the hand that was protecting the little girl. Jingyu looked at the woman's eyes and sighed deeply. She said, "I know the pain of losing a child, so don't worry, nothing will happen to her." After Jingyu said this, she indifferently turned around and walked to the side. When the woman heard Jingyu's words, she was slightly stunned. It was as if she had never thought that Jingyu would say such words. Then, as if she had thought of something, she wanted to stand up and walk over. "Don't move." The guard on guard suddenly blocked the woman's steps. "Tie up her hands and make her come with me." After Jingyu calmly said this, she had someone carry the little girl into the carriage. As she checked if the little girl had any injuries, she waited for the doctor to arrive. Jingyu saw that the little girl was becoming more and more uncomfortable. She was even clutching her stomach in her sleep. From the looks of it, did she eat something bad? "Call Xiaobai in and guard this place. I'll go out for a while." Jingyu thought for a moment, then turned to speak to Xing. Don't scare mother. The woman stood by the little girl's side, her eyes filled with worry. Jing Yu glanced at the woman, then turned to leave the carriage with a faint, deep look in her eyes. What's wrong? Xiaochen asked when he saw Jing Yu. It's probably because she ate something bad. Jing Yu calmly said. Then, she said, I'll go to the forest to find some herbs that can induce vomiting or laxatives. Let's test the effects first. Jing Yu slowly said. I'll go with you. Xiaochen calmly said. After instructing the guards to keep an eye on these people, he followed Jing Yu into the forest. Walking in the forest, Jing Yu seriously looked at the herbs. Jing Yu naturally understood these herbs. After all, she had lived in the Roman forest for so long, how could she not recognize these herbs? Chapter 1600. Why don't you look worried? Xiaochen asked with a faint smile as he leaned against a tree trunk with his arms crossed and watched Jing Yu look for herbs. What's there to be worried about? Jing Yu straightened her body and replied. Since she ate something bad, she probably wants to use it as an excuse to escape. Jing Yu said nonchalantly, both of us came out and gave her a chance. What an interesting girl. You noticed it too? When Xiaochen heard Jing Yu's words, his lips curled into a faint smile as he said, but it seems like this girl doesn't know how powerful that medicine is. She ended up like this after eating it. That's why I'm here to look for herbs. Jing Yu said as she pulled out a herb from a crack in the rock. She looked at Xiaochen with a smile and said, let's go and see how this girl is doing. Xiaochen raised his eyebrows calmly and followed Jing Yu inside. There was a faint light in his eyes, and he seemed to be a little absent-minded as he looked at Jing Yu. Hey, why do you keep staring at me? Jing Yu was a little embarrassed by Xiaochen's stare. She glared fiercely at Xiaochen and said, I haven't seen you like this in a long time. Of course, I'm looking at you a little longer. Xiaochen said so matter-of-factly that Jing Yu's face instantly turned red. She glared at Jing Yu coquettishly and said, You're not being serious. Let's go. Xiaochen chuckled and went forward to hug Jing Yu's waist. He whispered to Jing Yu and the two of them laughed from time to time. They didn't leave for long. When Jing Yu returned, she saw that the place was in a mess. What's wrong? Jing Yu asked calmly. Mother. Xiaobai saw that Jing Yu had returned and hurriedly ran over. He stretched out his hand towards Jing Yu and said through gritted teeth, Look at my hand. It was bitten by that wild girl. She actually tried to run away. Aya. Jing Yu looked at Xiaobai's hand. Such a deep bite mark. This child was really vicious. Does it hurt? Let mother take a look. Jing Yu said as she hurriedly put down the herb in her hand. She looked at the bite mark on Xiaobai's hand with a gloomy expression. It doesn't hurt. Xiaobai looked at Jing Yu's expression and shook his head slightly. But I knocked that wild girl out with one palm. She's still lying in the carriage. I really don't know why mother saved her. She's Yuntian's daughter. Who knows how much she'll hate mother in the future. Silly child. Jing Yu patted Xiaobai's head and said, The child didn't do anything wrong. Even if she comes to take revenge on me in the future, I'll accept it. Mother. Xiaobai slightly furrowed his eyebrows and then helplessly lowered his head. Go wash this herb clean, mash it, and make juice for her to drink. Jing Yu ordered the person beside her. She slightly furrowed her brows and continued to ask, Why isn't the doctor here yet? Xiaobai, come over here and bandage the wound on your hand. Oh. Xiaobai obeyed and walked over to Jing Yu's side. Jing Yu used Xiaobai's alcohol to clean the wound and then bandaged it. She tightly furrowed her brows and said, You're not such a careless person. How did you get bitten? I didn't notice. Xiaobai heard Jing Yu's words and his face instantly turned red. He silently pursed his lips and said, Who knew that wild girl would be so fierce? Chapter 1601. You. Jing Yu reached out and poked Xiaobai's forehead. She said angrily, What did mother tell you? You can't underestimate your opponent at any time. Even if the opponent is just a little girl, you have to treat her with 100% of your energy, understand? Yes, this child knows his mistake. Xiaobai bowed deeply to Jingyu. Jingyu lovingly patted Xiaobai's head and said, Father. Xiaobai stood up and saw Xiao Chen, so he quickly called out. Xiao Chen responded and his gaze fell on Xiaobai's bandaged hand. He frowned slightly and asked, Your hand, it's fine. Xiaobai didn't even think about it and hid his hand behind his back, as if Xiao Chen had seen it was a very embarrassing thing. He tightly pursed his lips and said to Xiao Chen before walking away with large strides. Why does this child look so scared of you? Jingyu raised her eyebrows and asked. Is that so? Xiao Chen asked casually. He turned to look at the carriage and said, I've already fed her medicine and she vomited once. She should be fine now. Jingyu indifferently responded and stood up. Is she well behaved now? Jingyu's eyes carried a faint smile as she turned to look at Xiao Chen and asked. She's a lot more well behaved. Xiao Chen's voice was also full of smiles as he followed Jingyu to the carriage. The little girl in the carriage vomited all over and finally fell asleep. Jingyu glanced at the young lady. Then, she heard someone calling for her. Interrogation Officer 1 had finally arrived with the doctor. After taking her pulse, it was as Jingyu had expected. The young lady had eaten something bad. Now, she had vomited everything she ate. She would be fine after taking some medicine to nourish her body. The woman guarding the little girl let out a sigh of relief and bowed to Jingyu with tears in her eyes. You don't need to thank me. Jingyu looked at the woman kneeling in front of her and said calmly, The reason I saved that child is very simple. Since I have an agreement with Yun Tian, I will keep it. I will ensure the safety of you and your mother. Jingyu's indifferent words fell and the woman looked at Jingyu with a complicated gaze. She looked at Jingyu's departing figure and sighed deeply. She wasn't a fool. How could she not know what Jingyu meant? Jingyu didn't need to do so much to save her daughter. Even if her daughter died and Yun Tian came back, what could he do to Jingyu? He couldn't do anything. Jingyu asked Yun Tian to capture Ling Xian to give him a chance, right? Yun Tian's woman is really not bad. Jingyu's eyes flashed with a faint light as she looked at Xiao Chen and asked, What do you think? How could such a good girl be harmed by Yun Tian? Xiao Chen was silent for a moment before he said, Yundan loves his wife very much. HM? Hearing this, Jingyu turned to look at Xiao Chen. Her eyes curved slightly as she said, From the looks of it, you seem to admire Yundan very much. Probably. Xiao Chen reached out to grab Jingyu's hand and said calmly, I used to think that Yun Tian was too arrogant. He always thought that the poison sect was invincible. If that wasn't the case, Yun Tian wouldn't have been led by the nose. Chapter 1602. Compared to Yun Tian, Yun Jing is much scarier. As Xiao Chen spoke, Jingyu's eyes filled with praise. As expected of the man she fancied, his thoughts were the same as hers. This was also why Jingyu was so merciful to Yun Tian when she wanted to cut off one of Yun Jing's arms. From the start, Yun Tian had been led by the nose by Nailinyu. Later on, he was incited by the Holy Family again and again. He'd thought his poison sect was so powerful, but now he understood that there was always someone better than him. Another thing that Jingyu found pleasing to the eye was Yun Tian's love for his wife, children, and clansmen. If Yun Tian had abandoned his wife and children when Jingyu suggested that he go capture Ling Xian, then the situation would have been very different. But now, it seemed that Yun Tian was wholeheartedly concerned about the safety of his wife and children. This made Jingyu see him in a new light. Jingyu was in the middle of speaking when she suddenly heard a commotion coming from the carriage. She raised her eyebrows slightly and didn't pay it any mind. The carriage was given to the little girl to sleep in. Jingyu and Xiao Chen casually covered the carriage with a straw blanket and slept on it. After a day of torment, Jingyu was really tired. She sighed deeply and fell asleep in Xiao Chen's arms. Jingyu hadn't slept for long when another commotion broke out in the carriage. Xiaobai was appointed to guard this carriage, and the sound of quarreling was coming from this carriage. You damned brat! Xiaobai's voice was filled with anger. Inside the carriage, Xiaobai's hand was tightly gripping the girl's neck as he said, Don't think that I don't dare to do anything to you. Cough, cough, cough. Let go. You baddie. The girl was born with a delicate appearance. Her eyes were filled with anger as she glared at Xiaobai. She opened her mouth as if she wanted to bite Xiaobai's hand. Crazy girl, are you really addicted to biting? Xiaobai was so scared that he quickly withdrew his hand. He stared at the little girl and said sarcastically, I don't know what name your father gave you. You're actually called Yun Yun. How strange. It's a name my father gave me. What does it have to do with you? Get out. When the little girl heard someone say her name, her eyes were filled with anger. She glared at Xiaobai and said, Your name is ugly. Xiaobai, Xiaobai, Xiaobai. You damned girl, see if I don't tear your mouth off. Xiaobai was so angry that his face turned red, and he pounced on Yun Yun without another word. I'll bite you to death. The two children were in a mess in the carriage. Xiaobai was a man, so of course, he could beat Yun Yun, but he couldn't be heavy-handed. He could only hold Yun Yun down and wipe the sweat off his face. What a crazy girl. She was even crazier than Feng Yu. Xiaobai cursed helplessly. Looking at the girl who couldn't move because of his hand, he raised the corner of his mouth and said proudly, Now do you know how powerful this young master is? You rogue. You villain. You actually hit a girl. Yun Yun couldn't beat Xiaobai, and her eyes were filled with tears. She thought that if her father was here, he definitely wouldn't let her be bullied. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.